Welcome, everyone. My name is Jenny Westerkamp. Hello, hello from my apartment here in Chicago. Tonight, I'm going to talk about how to study smarter for the RD exam. It is Study Smarter Summer at the time of this recording, and we're really trying to do events and support you around how to use your time efficiently to study for the RD exam. We are going to get into really a lot of like reflection questions and things that you want to think about when you're thinking, okay, yeah, I know I need to study, I need to put in the hours, but how can I actually do that smarter? It's kind of like the work smarter, not harder. It's still hard work, but you want to study smarter, not harder. And I will explain what that all means. So I will have the chat box open for those of you live. Thanks for sharing where you're from today. And then I do have it set up on my screen nicely where I can see questions come in. So if you do want to chat something, I can be looking at that, read that. Either we'll address it right then, or we can save it for the end. But let's dive into it. As a very quick introduction, for those of you, I do see some names I recognize, but for those of you that maybe this is your first intro to All Access Dietetics, to myself, my name is again Jenny Westerkamp. I'm a dietitian. I started All Access Dietetics when I was 21 years old back in 2009, and I was a future dietitian myself. I'm the CEO of All Access Dietetics. I previously had a 13-year career in professional sports as not as an athlete, but as a professional sports dietitian. I was the Chicago Bulls dietitian for 5 years. Before that, I was the Chicago Cubs dietitian in their minor leagues. And before that, 4 years with the Chicago Blackhawks, assisting both the dietitian there and then running their affiliate team, nutrition. I'm also the CEO now. Since I retired from sports, my next adventure is running a group practice that's nationwide, 100% virtual, in with insurance, called All Access Dietitians. I'm just getting started with that, but we have a team. We will have, I think, 6 dietitians. We're growing very quickly. We just launched in April, and I think it's just, even to go on there if you're interested in private practice, just to see how we're doing it. There's some really exciting opportunities in group practice and in insurance-based practice, where dietitians can get their visits covered. I'm going on a little tangent here, but I just want you to know, check out our website. We're new, but we are growing quickly and we'll be hiring dietitians very soon here. Finally, I am the host of the Dear Future Dietitian podcast. I have Cass, who is taking over for me this summer, but typically I have run the episodes, and there's about almost 60 episodes now on that podcast covering a wide range of topics for future dietitians. In terms of All Access Dietetics, like I said, we were founded in 2009, and then we do admissions coaching called Dietetics Admissions, and that is to help you get into graduate programs or coordinated programs or dietetic internships. Then we have Pass Class, which is our RD exam prep program used by over 3,000 students at this point. We have courses and toolkits, and we have a free virtual webinar or virtual event conference coming up August 7th and 8th called the RD to Be Summit. If you haven't seen that yet, it's on our website. But we do a lot of things just to support the dietetics community and help you just launch your career with confidence and get through this kind of stressful time of becoming a dietitian. And as an introduction to Pass Class, I mentioned that briefly, but this is our all-in-one solution that teaches you an evidence-based method, which I will be talking about today, and include a tutor-led community as well. So not many exam resources do this. A lot of times it's just a study guide or just videos or just tutoring. So we combine all of that into one. And then it includes the Pass the Exam Prep Binder study guide powered by the Study Smarter method, Pass Class review session recordings, and then a Pass Class community that's tutor-led. So that is Pass Class. And for those of you that have maybe been interested in this, we do have a code for the first 5 people that use the code. Code is SMARTER for $100 off. And there are payment plans available, and that can be applied to payment plans when you check out. All right, I'll just drop the link for Pass Class if you do want to check it out. Put that in the chat box. Our agenda for today is going to be around these 5 questions, and then there will be time for Q&A. But the 5 questions are exploring the idea of how to study smarter for the RD exam. We're going to talk about asking yourself, what is your learning method? What are you trying to get better at when you're studying? How will you know you are doing well and you're studying enough? Is this the right time to be studying? And are you ready for the exam experience? These are the questions that I will think about asking someone who either is preparing to take the exam, or maybe one of our past class students or tutoring clients, or someone who has failed the exam and are now trying to approach it in a smarter way the second time or third time around. These are the questions that we dive into. Let's hear from everyone in the group now of the live people. I would like to just hear when you're taking your exam. If you could just drop in. I just want to know everyone's timing. I know some people think about these things much earlier than others, so I want to get a sense of the crowd. So we have end of August for a lot of people, January. Okay, so someone kind of earlier on, October, September. So in the next like 1 to 3 months. And then some Januaries in here as well. So some people trying to understand this whole process early on is great. All right, great. So it's looking like mostly late summer, early fall. And then another poll question is, why do you want to pass the exam on your first or your next try? And go with the emotions, the feelings, like why do you want to pass? What is your why? And I want to get us into the mindset of like why this is important to us, why we should care, why we should listen, why we should be going all in on this. All right, I'm hearing I want to start making money ASAP. I don't want to spend so much money on taking it more than once. I want to start my job. Great reasons. And then the next question is, how would your life change if you were able to pass the exam on your first or next try? Let's go deeper with that. So yeah, you're going to make more money, you're going to start your job, but what else does that mean for your whole life, your lifestyle, your family, your future, where you live? Like, how does that change your life in general and help you get to that next chapter? What is it about that would be changing for you? Ooh, I like this one. Kat says being able to stop studying for the first time in 5 years. Yes, it's over. You are done. The emotional release that you get from just being done and getting that RD credential. Esperanza says, I can relax and enjoy my kids. Ooh, we're getting into, why this is really meaningful for you. Rachel says, I'd be so proud of my achievement. So the sense of accomplishment that you have. There'd be a lot less stress once this is over. So now you have a little bit more of an increase in your well-being just by getting done with this. All those things can be so important to you. Those are values, family, your well-being, financial well-being that can really help you if you can get through this exam. And we'll finally be able to hold title and credentials. Love that. Okay. Thank you for answering that. So you can see whenever you're thinking about something that's hard, you have to motivate yourself to put in these hours to study. It's not the most enjoyable thing to do, especially in the summer. But when you can latch on and remember your why and how your life will change and how you've worked so hard to get to this point, it's going to fuel you. It's going to help you put in those hours, put in the work, and make sure that you pass on this next try. One more poll question for you is, what do you think the pass rate is? And this is more to inform you than stress you out, but I do want to see what you guys think about what the first time pass rate is. This is the first time they take it. What is it? So we have guesses between 48, 70, 65, 74, 60s. Okay. And so this is the latest stats. Now they're actually just reporting the pass rate in the first year of taking the exam. So these stats aren't really like being specific on the first time pass rate, but I do like to look at the first time pass rate because we want everyone that uses pass class to pass the first time, or at least the first time they're using pass class. But this is where we're at. So you can see, just looking at this total here, you can see total tests. This is from a 6-month period, I believe at the end of 2022. But it was 2,700-ish attempts, and then a 67.9% pass rate for those first attempts. And then it's broken down here by program type. And you can see it's a little skewed where you're like, oh, dietetic internship is the lowest, but it also had the most people, which there's when you increase the amount of people in it, there's just a lot of variation, but you could just see that it kind of ranges around the high 60s to low 70s there. All right, so we want to be in that percentage. We want to be in the percentage that passes this exam. How are we going to do it? Let's dive in to how to study smarter for the RD exam. So the first question I'm asking someone is, what is your learning method? So when you're going to study, a lot of times the learning method that people have is, I'm going to get a study guide and I'm going to try to memorize it. I'm just going to learn it. I'm going to make flashcards. I'm going to highlight. I'm going to reread. I'm going to rewrite my notes, do all the things that I did in college, right? But this is not a college exam. So you do want to think differently about your learning method. When I was thinking about putting in an RD exam prep program together, I really wanted to find something that had an actual evidence-based learning method. I mean, people study learning, they study how does the brain work, how do you retain information, how do you improve your critical thinking skills? And there are evidence-based ways that people can learn that are better and more efficient and work better for the brain. So the one to think about is active learning versus passive learning. Active learning is like filling out a worksheet. Passive learning is like trying to memorize a table that's already filled in with the answers. So we want to put you in a position to have more active learning sessions as opposed to passive learning, because you learn better and you retain more information in active learning. Here's the reason why people don't use active learning as much. It's actually harder than it is to passively learn. So to try to memorize 10 terms and whatever and 10 definitions is different than trying to learn it when you're applying the information, or trying to write it out in memory or teach it back to someone, which is an amazing active learning strategy. And that takes more brain power, more effort, but you get better results because of it. And so that's why when we teach people the study smarter method in past class, we're really focused on giving them, over 20 different ways that you can do active learning instead of passive learning to spend that time doing learning like that. What are some other examples? Teaching back to someone is great. Filling out worksheets or tables without looking at the answer, breaking down questions and researching and going and finding the rationales instead of them just being given to you. So those would be examples of active learning. And then passive learning would be less ideal, but that might be just trying to memorize, just like looking and reading and highlighting. And even though that needs to happen, like that needs to be a part of it, you want to make sure the majority of your sessions and learning is active. That's where the neurons all connect. That's where your critical thinking skills build. That's where the retention happens, the better memory retention. And that's where there's more actual learning that's involved. And then learning style. So we know that everyone has different types of learning. People know, oh, I do really well with audio and visual, so they need to see pictures. Some people do really well with kinesthetic, where they need to be moving or, drawing things out. And you want to know what your learning style is. So in past class, we do an assessment around what your learning style is, and then tie different learning strategies to your learning style. So that all should go into your learning method as well. It's not just one size fits all, or this is what my friend does, so I'm going to do the same thing. You want to know, like, okay, what is the best way that you personally learn? And some people can be a mix of those things, and there might be a blend, but you might spend more time. For example, we have people in past class that love the videos so much, and they're spending a lot more time in the videos than they are in the study guide, whereas some people love the study guide and the visual of just how it's organized there, and they'd spend more time in that. So it all just depends on what your learning style is and going with that. And then finally, types of sessions. So there's going to be different types of study sessions. It's not just going to be you're doing one strategy for the however many tens of whatever hours that you're studying. And so you want to think about how you can be strategic with that. So in the Study Smarter method, we have practice question sessions, review sessions, focus sessions just on specific topics that are your weaknesses, study guide sessions, video sessions. And so we're trying to expose your brain in kind of a random way so that you can learn better that way as well, and expose yourself even to different topics on different days through our practice question sessions, because again, that's how the RD exam is. So we want to make sure that you can switch back and forth between different topics easily in your brain. So you're practicing that in your studying. So you can see it's not just, okay, I'm going to get this study guide, I'm going to get these videos, I'm going to watch them and hope for the best. There is an actual study smarter method that we teach you. And you can use these ideas on your own if you're not in past class to understand what that is between active and passive learning, your learning style, and the types of sessions that you would create and then schedule to be a part of your study plan. Number two, the next question that you want to ask yourself is, what are you trying to get better at? And how do you know that you're doing well in studying? So many students will be like, I'm putting in all these hours, I'm not feeling any more confident. What is it that I need to be doing? How do I know if it's working? And so one of the ways that I explain this is a credentialing exam. So this is an exam that you are taking to prove to the test people that you have the critical thinking skills necessary to go out in the real world and practice as a licensed dietitian, registered dietitian. So this exam is set up in such a way that it's 2/3 application questions and 1/3 knowledge questions. So the majority of it is application questions where you need to apply the information that you've learned over the last 5+ years and be able to apply that to real world situations and answer correctly. A lot of times people will say, oh, they just have it where it's between two answers and I'm not sure which one it is. Both could be right. That difference is what they're testing you on purposely to see if, there are multiple things you can do in the real world. What is the best thing that you can do for either the patient or the program or the situation that they're talking about? And that's why this whole exam is about critical thinking skills. So when you're thinking in your studying, what are you trying to get better at? You're trying to get better at critical thinking skills at applying the knowledge to your the situation. In the Study Smarter method, we talk about how to use practice questions to do this. So many people will take like hundreds of practice questions, or I know there's like Pocket Prep and all those things out there, Quizlets, whatever. And they will take bunches of them at the same time, grade themselves and see which ones they got wrong, look at the rationale and move on. That is not an efficient way to build your critical thinking skills. So we have a different approach to practice exams where we're making you research every keyword in the question, every keyword in the answers, go back, study, understand the full topic, the whole situation, not just the one component that they're testing in that question, and make sure that you have a broad overview of that topic and the knowledge there so that you can then apply it to the answers that are given, to the question and the answers that are there. It's through that process of researching, building the topic sheet, understanding like why things are, not just reading quickly what the rationale is, that you are going to better build your critical thinking muscle. And that's the exact muscle that you need to pass this exam. Yes, there's memorization because you just have to know what the temperature danger zone is. You have to know sources of folate. You have to know like what scoop sizes mean what. So there's a small portion there of that. That's the knowledge foundation, but you have to practice the critical thinking application piece of it in your studying. A lot of people say like, I memorized every word to this study guide and I still didn't pass because nothing in your studying got you better at critical thinking skills. And you can do that with practice questions, but specifically with how we do them in the Study Smarter method. Don't just be taking a bunch and then grading yourself. The other bad thing that people do, not bad, just not efficient thing that people do is they will do a bunch of practice questions and then they'll do them over and over where they're just memorizing the answers. They are not proving to themselves that they're understanding or applying the information that they're exposing themselves to. And that is not efficient. That is not a Study Smarter method. And so we want to avoid that. But that is the idea. Like you want to be getting better at applying the information, not memorizing it or proving that you have the knowledge. You have to prove that you have the application of it in order to pass. The third question is, how will you know you are doing well? So this kind of ties into the second one, but it's like people want to know and feel more confident that they are studying enough and that they're actually ready. This is a tricky one, and I'm going to have some controversial opinions on it. But what people will typically do is they will do programs that will give them grades on their quizzes or the practice exams that they're taking. And that is one form of feedback that they're getting. Okay, I didn't do well in these domains. I better study more of that. But there is a more strategic way to do that. And sometimes these practice exams, they're not going to be indicative of what the RD exam actually is like. A lot of times people will take practice exams towards the end of their studying, and they will, let's say, get a 65% on an exam. And they're like, oh my gosh, like my confidence, what was I doing the last 3 months? Like, I can't believe how low that score was. And the funny thing is, like, those people could still pass the exam. And then same with people that are getting 80s or above on these practice exams, they can go and take the exam and still not pass. And we've seen it both ways. And there's no like research to back the fact that, oh, you need X amount % on the practice exam in order to pass the exam. That's just not, there is nothing that exists. It's not true. And that's why I don't like using it as a way to know if you're going to pass the exam. I think that anything that threatens your confidence and your, abilities in yourself to where you're like, oh, I did so bad on those practice exam scores, I know I'm going to fail now. Like, anything that plants that seed is not a study smarter approach. So the creator of the study smarter method, Bailey DeBarmore, says not to look at practice exam scores and have them be what it is that tells you if you're ready or not. So what to do instead is to be doing practice questions and dissecting them and getting them in like doing the study smarter method on them, like breaking them down and understanding and being able to go topic by topic. And the more times you do that method, the more times you're going to identify what topics you're weaker in. And then from there, you can schedule sessions to further apply information, use active learning techniques to understand the topic. We know the CDR outline has the list of all the topics that are covered in the RD exam. And so you're going through trying to find where you're weak in those areas where you're not getting those questions right, where you don't understand the rationale, you don't understand, the critical thinking like isn't there for those topics, and then go topic by topic, not just full on domain or like just like one score about everything you know for the RD exam. The practice exams aren't always designed, or they aren't designed the way that the exam is, because it's computer adapted, and it's just not it's not a good indicator. I mean, it's not, I guess like the point is you can score low on that and still pass. You can score high on that and still fail. And that's all you need to know to realize that. So here's what I would say about practice exams, because we are going to be coming out with a mock exam this week, actually, for those of you listening live. We will be doing a mock exam, but we are not doing it to see what you score on it. We're doing it to help you experience exam day and experience the idea of doing 125 questions minimum and experiencing like going through a dress rehearsal for that and working on your timing and just letting your brain go through the process of that experience so that you're more ready psychologically for exam day, not from a content or like knowledge or readiness standpoint. Hopefully that makes sense. That is a new topic that I've brought up in these events. If that does not make sense, please ask a question in the chat box if you need me to explain it. But like I said, it's controversial opinion, but we see it all the time. And I just don't want there to be something that causes the low confidence is really my issue, because we want to keep your confidence high. We want the study method to sort of help you feel more confident as you're going. And we find too often that people just put too much emphasis on their practice exam scores. If anything, it can help you see where your topic weaknesses are, but I wouldn't look at it from just a straight score. Okay. So that's how will you know you are doing well. And then number 4, is this the right time to be studying? This is a very important question to ask when you're asking yourself how to study smarter for this exam. There are a lot of external and internal or self-induced pressures that are happening right now to RD2Bs because you have just finished maybe a very grueling program. You could have a job on the line that you know that you really want to get, and you have to pass the exam in a certain amount of time, or kind of all the different reasons why you guys want to pass the exam on the first try. The pressure you put on yourself that you don't want to seem like a failure. There's so many things, and I acknowledge those, and I have great compassion for that. Everyone is going through a lot, just as humans, we are going through a lot. And so you want to bring that to the surface and to really be honest with yourself, compassionate with yourself around, is this really the right time for you to be studying, or does it need to be delayed? Or how can you, even for the people in January, like, is there a way to space out your studying so that you're not just cramming in one pressure filled like amount of time based on what your situation is? So you want to examine that for yourself. You also want to look at your timelines. Is this a timeline that you're making up, or is this a real timeline? Like, and I don't know everyone's specific situation, so that's this is a very individualized reflection. And I don't have straight guidance or recommendations for this, but examine the timelines, be realistic with what your schedule, your obligations, everything else you have going on during the time that you're studying. I know some people start a full-time job and then try to study. So you really want to understand, like, what do you have the capacity for to give this your best attempt? And also to not risk your well-being, because we know, and I put this kind of at the end, but like, for example, getting poor sleep is going to result in less effective learning and better, or worse retention. So more sleep equals better retention. But these are all components that play into whether or not you will study smarter and pass the exam. The other thing is, the exam is not the only focus of your life at this time. And I know for some people it is, and that can be really not good for your well-being. You need to take care of yourself as best you can. And if there are these self-induced pressures, examining, maybe getting help with that, whatever is accessible to you. But there may not be this may not be a right time for you to study, and you want to just make sure that you're kind of setting up that everything else going on besides the exam as much as you can in your control. Try to make it more conducive to learning and studying. Okay. Again, I know everyone has different situations and lots of different things going on in your lives. So my point here is to bring awareness to it and examine it and see what you can do to just be easier on yourself and also set yourself up for success. And number 5 is, are you ready for the exam experience? So even though studying, most of it is studying and learning how to apply the information, building your critical thinking skills, filling in weaknesses and topics, you do want to think about the actual exam day itself. And I say that because that can be a reason why people do not pass the exam. And so it needs to be addressed. So the first is, there is a CDR exam handbook that would be good to read, that goes through just what the exam experience is like, and helps you just understand the design of it so that you feel like you know what to expect. Same with like exam day rules and test center rules and things like that. And then you do want to do a mock exam, or you can set one up. We will have one, like I said, launching this week. That will just be 125 question. It'll look like the exam, where it's one question per on the screen at one time. But this is really to practice timing in your experience, the experience of actually just sitting down in a room, in a quiet room ideally, or rent a room in the library and experience this, so that it's kind of like a dress rehearsal or a scrimmage or something, to get your body and your brain to go through the process first, and not have the first time be the actual exam day. Okay. So that would be a way to get ready for the exam experience. And then addressing and examining your mental well-being and any test anxiety strategies that you need to put into practice for exam day or leading up to exam day. And finally, exploring accommodations. If you do have a situation or something that you think would then impair your test performance, then you can explore that by going through the accommodations process, where the simple way to explain it is that you may need a physician's note that would then be used to get you test accommodations if that's something that was right for you. And that could be a separate room, that could be more time or unlimited time, whatever. It just really depends on what the actual accommodation is. But all of those things need to be addressed as part of your study plan before you take the exam. Okay, and then I threw in some bonus strategies here, things to think about in your study plan and how you're going to study smarter for the exam. Number one is to track your hours, and not to say that there's this magic number of hours, because everyone comes in with different experiences, IQs, critical thinking skills, anything like that. Everyone's at different parts in their journey, but tracking your hours brings awareness to it, and it helps you to keep accountable to yourself. So if you said, I'm going to study 3 hours tomorrow, you track it, you studied 1.25 hours. Well, now we need to think about, what was the barrier that got in the way? Reflect on that. How can you change up your surroundings or change up your strategy? Do you need more of a plan? Do you need more accountability? And then reflect throughout and adjust your exam date if needed. I know that we get, just as humans, we get very optimistic about what we think we can do. But if by tracking, we can know for sure what we're actually doing, we can adjust better and learn from that and improve. It's hard to motivate yourself to study when you have other things, or it's summer and you're, just getting done with the program and you're like, I do not want to study anymore. But if we know we need to put in these hours to feel confident and build up your retention for the exam, then you want to be aware of it because it's important, and then adjust as needed. Adjust your exam date if you can. And then requesting test accommodations I'm just mentioning that again because that can actually be the difference for a lot of people. They don't realize they would benefit from an accommodation and they have the reason to do it. So I would strongly encourage you to explore that if you think that you can. And then plan for 145 questions. We know you're going to get a minimum of 125 up to a maximum of 145. So just plan for 145 questions and check the time every 20 minutes. The real general rule here is your average is like 1 minute per question. Not to say that, some questions might take you 3 or 4 minutes, others might take you 30 seconds. So it's more about just checking over, let's say 20 questions, see where you're at. You should be 20 minutes in from the last 20 questions. So that would be the thing to also practice when you take the mock exam. And finally, answer all 125 questions at a minimum. I always just throw this into any RD exam prep webinar that I give because this can be a reason people do not pass and they don't know this. This is in the exam handbook, but if you're a slower test taker and if time runs out and you just submitted 124, it is not like the ACT or SAT where they'll still give you a score. It will not give you a score. There will be a null score and you will have no idea what you got on that if you don't answer all 125 questions. So keep that in mind if you are, for whatever reason, running out of time and then you just need to answer, just put an answer in and get to the 125 before time runs out. I would say in general, just to kind of calm people's nerves, most people do not have an issue with timing. They have more than enough time, as long as, you're staying focused and everything. But, if that does happen, you want to be aware. And I did, I have someone that I know that personally, she's a very smart person and she did have trouble with the timing and didn't answer all 125 and that happened to her. So that's again where you're practicing that. You're making sure you're ready for that exam day experience. The allotted time, I just got a question in here too. So it's a 3-hour appointment time, but it's a 2.5-hour exam time. So it's like 10 minutes for orientation things and 20 minutes for like a survey and post survey situation, kind of like buffer time to get you checked in and checked out. But it's 2.5 hours to answer a max of 145 questions. People get confused though, because they'll see the appointment time is 3 hours that you're scheduling for, but the exam itself is 2.5. Okay. So just to wrap things up here, and I will take questions at the end if anyone has any, but let me just go through this again. So remember, we're asking, what is your learning method? Like, what methods are you actually employing during your study sessions? What are you trying to get better at as you're studying? You want to get better at critical thinking because that is what they're testing you for in 2/3 of the exam. It's the application process, application. Number 3 is how will you know you are doing well? How are we going to use practice questions differently to get that feedback? And how are we going to use something either the Study Smarter method if you're in past class, or some way of knowing what topics you need to build your knowledge and critical thinking skills in. And then, is this the right time to be studying, assessing that whole world with everything going on in your own individual life? And are you ready for the exam experience and addressing that so that that can be part of your study plan? And then we talked about bonus strategies. Okay, so that is my plan for you on how to study smarter. If you want help with that, if you want the whole Study Smarter method, you can get that with Past Class. It's a 75-page guide on how to study smarter. I just gave you the tip of the iceberg for what that actually means, but it goes into your learning assessment, how you learn, how you're going to set up your study sessions and the different types of study sessions, how to build your whole study plan, and then how to actually implement that, keep your mindset right, keep your confidence high, and actually increase your retention as you study, and how to adjust if you do need to, if life or anything gets in the way. Then you will have the Past Class community with Past Class, where you'll be able to ask questions, get tutor responses. They do a live, our tutors act as a live study hall every week, which is amazing. And it's like getting group tutoring where you can come with questions and just always be feeling confident, with that. And then there's review session recordings and the actual study guide itself. So everything is sort of set up like a curriculum. It's a roadmap, it's a plan, it's a program. It's self-paced, so you can do it on your schedule because everyone has different amounts of time that they can spend every week studying. But we feel like it's the best designed, and it's based on the most feedback of thousands of future dietitians. And so it's really kind of made for future dietitians and for this RD exam. As a reminder, you can use code SMARTER for $100 off of Past Class, and there are payment plans available as well. And then, like I said, we do have that mock exam coming out this week. That's a separate product, and that will be $37 for the mock exam. And that's something that anyone can use, whether you're in Past Class or not, and to practice that exam day experience. Okay. So that's all I have for you today. I will take questions or anything, comments, whatever you think. Happy to stay on here for the next 5 or so minutes if there's questions. But thank you for attending live, and thank you to anyone listening to the recording. I hope you think differently now about your study plan and how to study smarter for the RD exam. All right, we have a first question. How early is too early to start studying? Great question. So we work with about 35 programs who use Past Class in their programs, and more than half of them actually give Past Class at the beginning of their program. The reason why they do that is they're not saying, oh, we need to study throughout our entire program, but when you go into your rotations, we want to make sure that you have a knowledge foundation there so that you can apply it to your real world experiences. That's how a lot of critical thinking is created. You don't just create it all in studying for the RD exam. You should hopefully come in with some from your actual program. So in that case, I love using Past Class and the Study Smarter guide or any study guide as a reference for your rotation prep. And then from there, you'll be able to go into your real world experiences with all the knowledge that you need rather than trying to learn it on the job. So that's how I would address studying, quote, studying is preparing for your rotations in a better way. And then once you get into the end of your program and you're able to manage maybe both studying and doing your rotations, if you can, or after your program, then our minimum general requirement is 8 weeks that you spend with Past Class, really studying almost every day. But you can use the study guides and the videos to just get your knowledge prep going and to get that first run through all of the content. Right. Can you talk more about the webinar for mock exam? For the mock exam. Okay, so we will have a mock exam coming out It'll be on our website. We'll be doing an email about it. So since you signed up for this event, you're going to get an email about the launch of the mock exam, hopefully this week. I think we're doing it Wednesday, and there'll be more information on that. All right, we saw someone's key takeaway was applying knowledge towards critical thinking skills. That is definitely the essence of the Study Smarter method, because that's how the exam is designed. It's not designed to know how much you've memorized. It's designed to know how much you can apply in the real world. Do you have any tips for studying while in a full-time dietitian job? That we talk about block scheduling in the Study Smarter method, and how you want to visually see all of your different obligations, your work schedule. You have to take care of yourself, whatever self-care activities, errands, obligations. You want to put that all out visually so that you can see what your week looks like and see where there's blocks of time that you can put into studying, and then have that plan and treat it like a schedule, like something like a meeting or something that you have to show up for. Some people will do it before they work. Some people will do it after. Most people find a little bit better success by doing it before they work, knowing that it could be short-term early mornings, but that's the way that you're going to best use your time, and you're not going to maybe be too tired from your workday and not want to study. So that would be a couple tips there. And then having that accountability partner to help you stick with it. And then anything you can do to ask your manager or your current job around like flexibility around even your hours, or ways that you can, if it is negotiable, to maybe take an extra day off a week. Again, I don't know everyone's situation, but if you can talk to your manager and say like, how can there be some flexibility in the next X amount of weeks to get through this, then trying to ask for that and see if that's possible. It really depends on the job. I'll just say like an example is someone that worked at a hospital and they just ended up doing like double shifts on weekends and having less time during the week to study or to work so that they could study more during the week. But that just worked for them, but just try to be creative with your schedule if you can. All right, where do you sign up for the mock exam? I will just throw the link's up there already, so I'll just throw it in there now. But this is where it is. It's just allaccessdietetics.com/mock exam, mock-exam. All right. How long do you have access to past class if you get it before rotations? You have everything until you pass the exam, and you can start your review session recording access anytime. You do have 12 weeks for that portion of past class, but you can start at any time. And I would say most people just use pass the exam prep, the study guide binder anyways during the rotation. So you'll get that right away, and you keep that and have access to everything until you pass the exam. So that's why a lot of people in like programs will get it at the beginning of the program. People will get it at the beginning of their internship program or graduate program and have it the whole time for years. So that's totally fine. While taking the exam, are you able to go back to questions, or do you have to answer right away? You have to answer right away and then keep moving forward. You can't go back or change answers. All right. I wonder if I missed. Would you recommend past class to someone who has taken the exam multiple times? Yes, we get a lot of repeat examinees. How is it different from other study programs offered? Visual Veggies Tutoring, Inman. This is an all-in-one program with a method. They teach you how to study for this exam, how to set up your study plan, how to actually implement it all. So you don't have to mix and match tools. And it's really just based on evidence-based learning methods. And so we know that when people follow the method, it works. And the fact that it has the community aspect, you just don't feel alone as you're studying. We tried to address every possible reason why people didn't pass in this one program. And something as simple as just like feeling alone in the process, we address that with the community. And people just do better when they know that other people are going through it with them, that they have support to a tutor in a really cost-effective way, and have all the other tools and resources to get through everything. So I would say it's more of an experience than it is a like product. So. All right. I just saw someone that's in Canada. We do have people that have used the past class for Canada RD exams. The only issue would be just to use the RD exam outline for Canada's dietitian exam. Oops, I froze there. Uh-oh. Sorry, I think I'm frozen. I don't know if you guys can hear me still, but my computer froze. Oh, I'm back. Sorry about that. Oh no, I don't know why I'm freezing. I might just have to close it. I'm not sure if you guys can still hear me, but I am frozen. So I probably just have to close it down. Thanks to the person that said I love past class. But yeah, I will just end this here if you guys can still hear me. And thank you so much for being here tonight. Oh, wow, we can see. Oh, okay. My computer is freaking out though, so I probably do. I'm back now, but I do have something wrong with my computer. So I just have to close it for now, but thank you everyone for being here tonight. And we will send the recording out after this as well. So have a good night, everyone. Sorry about the technical glitch at the end here. All right. See if I can